Imagine that you find yourself in a park of the southern period. The fences are broken, and you have a choice, to go to the cage of a predatory velociraptor or to a herbivorous triceratops. Pause and tell us in the comments who you would go to and why. Chances are, you've made a fatal mistake, and in the next couple of minutes, we'll tell you why. After all, dinosaurs are a real storehouse of historical myths, prejudices and the Hollywood introduction of anti-scientific thoughts. And in the next couple of minutes, we will tell you why not all dinosaurs were feathered, how the egg appeared before the chicken, and why the dinosaurs actually became extinct. Well, let's not forget about the cage with a triceratops and a velociraptor either, so make yourself comfortable. We'll start with feathers. The world of the Jurassic period and the world of anthropology as a whole until the 90s unconditionally considered dinosaurs to be similar to reptiles, and, accordingly, according to the precepts of the Zohan, smooth as silk. But in 1999, paleontologist Xu Xing found the remains of an Archaeopteryx like Sinornithosaurus with obvious traces of feathers. In 2015, a piece of amber was found in China, which was named Eve, and it contains a perfectly preserved feathered tail of a 99-million-year-old predatory dinosaur. The public has changed its shoes, and now in the mass consciousness all dinosaurs are drawn as birds, and, as you might have already guessed, this is not the case. After all, paleontologists of antiquity were not fools either, and it was not for nothing that they wrote down dinosaurs as reptiles. The fact is that in 1984, on a ranch called Pacho Sastre, José Bonaparte found the remains of a horned Carnotaurus in excellent condition. Even the skin was preserved, which, in fact, made it clear that this species of dinosaur did not smell of feathers. Just recently, in 2024, the remains of a Psittacosaur were found, and it is also leathery, with bristles on its tail. And a whole gap of species was also found, which are either entirely scaly, or feathered, or half in the middle. And for a long time, disputes were boiling over what happened before. The dominant theory was that feathers were an evolution of scales that allowed dinosaurs and their descendants to fly. In fact, it was the descendants who gave the answer to this question. Perhaps this will shock someone, but the closest living relatives of birds now are crocodiles. Both of them descended from archosaurs millions of years ago, as well as, in fact, dinosaurs. So scientists at Keck University in California took a chicken and a crocodile embryo, and transplanted genes responsible for feather growth into a crocodile embryo in an attempt to awaken hundreds of millions of years of evolutionary formulas. And what would you think? Genes became friends as native, and vice versa. The situation is exactly the same. It's just that in one animal the same gene grows scales from the same materials, and in another the feathers. And reversing this process is easy. In 2023, scientists from the University of Geneva concreted the assumption by growing scales now in a chicken, where feathers usually were. The global conclusion is that scales, feathers, spikes, or hair are all the same thing. It's just that each species adapted the keratinized types of leather to its needs. Of course, it will be problematic for a person to grow feathers, but it is very easy for close relatives like chicken and crocodiles. Well, as for dinosaurs, crocodiles and chickens, the conclusion of scientists is that their ancestor was feathered. But then, depending on the conditions, some species retained feathers, some modified them, and some, like crocodiles, completely hit the scales. In dry numbers, out of 700 known species of dinosaurs, 77 had feathers, so birds and dinosaurs were still a minority, and Jurassic Park wasn't lying to us much. The real lie is different, and here we return to the question of Triceratops and Velociraptor. Those of us who chose a cage with a herbivorous dinosaur would most likely be dead. Because peaceful herbivorous dinosaurs are a myth from children's books. And, unfortunately, it's time to grow up. Paleontologist Brian Scroll made a very accurate joke about this. Herbivorous vegan dinosaurs seem to be aware that they are made from meat. And that's why they constantly take out their anger on everyone around them. Ha ha ha, in every joke, as you know, there is only a fraction of a joke. So the excavations of the remains of Triceratops show that they were still. A huge number of their skulls bear traces of blows inflicted not only by predators, but also by other Triceratops. Moreover, the blows are not always fatal, because if a 9-ton 7-meter Triceratops had butted the other with its horn with a running start, it would have ended with a bright, but not particularly beautiful fountain, and on both sides. But the molecules would blow apart both the opponent and the attacker, whose horn would crush his brain. So scientists believe that Triceratops often butted heads and had a rather bad character. This is perfectly confirmed by observations of modern animals. The so-called good-natured herbivorous rhinoceros during the mating season turns into a machine that will kill everything that encroaches on its female and territory. You don't have to be a predator to be bloodthirsty. Rather, on the contrary, predators are most often the cutest and timid creatures. The way the velociraptors in the movies go to great lengths to smash parks and hunt people is the last thing they would do in reality. Both modern and ancient predators starved for days, stubbornly watched their prey, chose the moment and quickly attacked. So if you entered the cage with the velociraptor, it would most likely run away in shock. Just like cats run away now, only if they are not cornered. And without leaving the cash register, let's talk about another myth. Indirectly, we touched on it in the story about the horns of Triceratops. The fact is that attacking with them from a running run is a killer activity. First of all, for yourself, the horn will sink back into the skull, and it is instant death. So scientists do not understand the true purpose of healthy scales on the tails, frontal masks and horns of dinosaurs to this day. For example, there are the same horned centrosaurs, on which there are almost no marks from other horns. Therefore, they did not really fight with them. But what was it used for? Wonder. There is a theory that all these bells and whistles, which seem to us to be weapons of violence, simply lured females, or even served as a heat sink. After all, the question of the warm-bloodedness and cold-bloodedness of dinosaurs is the next myth. On the internet, you can find sources that claim the exact opposite. At first glance, like reptiles, dinosaurs are supposed to be cold-blooded. But on the other hand, they are the ancestors of chickens, and they are quite warm-blooded. The answer came only in 2022, when a study appeared in the journal Nature that examined intact biological molecules in the bones of many dinosaurs. The conclusion is that they were still warm-blooded, but not all. Lizards, such as Tyrannosaurus, Velociraptor, and Brachiosaurus, are almost all warm-blooded. And even more, because their blood was truly boiling, even hotter than that of modern birds. Hence the fast metabolism, adaptation to any conditions and survival. However, herbivorous dinosaurs, for the most part, still turned out to be cold-blooded. Stigmosaurs, Triceratops, and other guys couldn't maintain their body temperature on their own, and yet they depended on external conditions. In general, everything, as always in science, is sad, boring and without an unambiguous answer. And we haven't touched on the uncomfortable topic of extinction yet. This is where the truly 10-kilometer asteroid is buried, which is usually credited with the extinction of all dinosaurs 65 million years ago. Well, or on its consequences in the form of an invigorating nuclear winter, cold snap and everything like that. Remember what the textbooks say. Giant, cold-blooded dinosaurs could not adapt to new conditions. And they died of cold, hunger and loneliness. They were replaced by smaller and more tenacious mammals, and their era began. The theory is simple and elegant, but it has a gigantic problem hidden in the most visible place. And who, in fact, said that dinosaurs were gigantic and cold-blooded? Some, of course, were there, but we have already figured out composure. And as for gigantism, the vast majority of dinosaurs were the size of a man or even smaller. If you take all types of dinosaurs in general and deduce an average size, you will get an animal more or less the size of a sheep. And such animals survived the extinction 65 million years ago in bulk turtles, and even giants, crocodiles, Purgotorius and other species coped with the extinction with a bang, and feathered flying relatives of dinosaurs in principle too, and some were not inferior in size to dinosaurs, and crocodiles were their brothers and a parallel branch of development. The situation is aggravated by the fact that a meteorite hit America, and dinosaurs lived all over the globe, even in the then green Antarctica. And if you think that now there will be a witty answer on new scientific research, then bad news, because scientists do not have an answer to this question. The only thing that is officially recognized is that the Melpaleogene extinction is indeed uniquely selective. If earlier life on Earth mowed down according to strict laws, then 65 million years ago, out of two almost identical species, only one could survive, for no apparent reason. Also, from the grains of confirmed data, it became known that the extinction affected the southern hemisphere less. Its population recovered twice as fast as in the northern. Scientists believe that this is due to the fact that it was spring in the northern hemisphere, nature was flourishing, and life was planning to multiply, and in the south, the living world was preparing for winter and was growing fat and gaining supplies. But dinosaurs, again, also lived in huge numbers in the southern hemisphere, and among them were the same warm-blooded microraptors the size of a modern parrot, or even Epidexepteryx with a body weight of 164 grams, where 65 million years ago, without poking the size, lifestyle, body structure and diet, you will find a dinosaur that fits the description. But why, with all this variety of species, did they disappear? Hence the currently dominant theory. She says that it was the lack of diversity that killed the dinosaurs, not species, but genetics. These are the genes from both the Neanderthal northerners and the even more ancient Homo erectus, who lived in the Vade heat. And dinosaurs, according to many scientists, had a hard time with this question, and it was the inability to quickly adapt after the ill-fated meteorite that killed them. However, the survival of the same ancestors of chickens casts doubt on this theory, and the truth is that we do not yet know the real reasons for the extinction of dinosaurs. Here is a story for a separate video, and if you would like to see it, let us know in the comments. And that's all for now. See you next time, friends.